We'll now move into our next presentation. Please join me in welcoming Brian from RWDC Industries.
Thank you. Is that where you want them? All right. All right. Hello. Paul, this is the third one I've been to, I think, and it's certainly the best view. I mean, the people, right? But anyway, thank you, Paul, for hosting this, and I'm excited to be here. Share a little bit about what RWDC Industries is doing, who we are, and a few specific points that I'll bring out. So RWDC Industries, our goal is to improve people's lives by replacing plastic with natural polymers. We'll talk about PHA. We have moved, and you've heard it discussed, I guess, a lot over this day, is that we've moved from the bench, right? From beakers to buckets to now we have large commercial scale bioreactors that we're producing PHA with on a daily basis, and we're about to scale that to an even larger scale. So I'll talk about that just briefly, but the focus is how do we do that by keeping in front of us all the time, improving people's lives and replacing those polymers. I'm going to throw a number up. So this number, 400 million tons. We've talked about a lot of things. And it depends on where you look and who you might ask that you get a slightly different number. But this is how much plastic we might produce globally on an annual basis. So what happens to all that plastic? Some of it, plastic gets a bad name nowadays, but we certainly have done a lot of good with plastic, right? We have shipped food and water all over the world. The health and medicine and all these things that have been developed, the clothes that we're wearing, everything has benefited from plastic over the last maybe 100 years now. But where does it end up? Here's 3 places where plastic ends up, right? It ends up in the food we eat, in the water we drink, and even in the air we breathe. Something that we haven't thought about very much as we've been shipping plastic all over the world, and we've been chopping it up and recycling it and all the things we do with plastic. Does anybody know the rest of this? A spoonful of, anybody, sugar, helps to med. Does anybody? Right, well now you can think a spoonful of plastic is what's circulating in your body, and maybe just what's sitting in your brain right now. So a spoonful of plastic, and as we talk about microplastics, I'll jump into, here's a great morning breakfast for you. Microplastics are becoming a global crisis. And it's a crisis based in human health, right? So we have challenges. We think about the environmental impact of plastics, but what I want everyone to think about now is what is there, and if there is, what is the impact of microplastics on human health? These are 2 images from the 1940s and 50s, some magazines. I won't ask anybody if they smoke in here, but during this time, right, everybody smoked. And these 2 particular images highlight something that today we think is really silly. More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. I have this radio commercial. It's on a tape, and it says, Camel cigarettes, the cigarette doctors recommend most. Right? So can you imagine going to the doctor today and say, I've got this nagging cough, and I don't know if it's COVID or what, and he says, well, he breaks out a pack of Camels, and he says, here, smoke this, you'll feel better. That's ridiculous, right? So we have come to the point where we recognize something is bad that we didn't think was necessarily so bad in the past. This is where we're coming to with plastics today. So this is a true statement, right? Changing the world is hard work, and that's what we're looking at doing, is how do we change people's opinions? How do we change the world and move forward with microplastics as not just an environmental issue, but as a human health impact? So one of the ways that we do this, and Brian, you mentioned this morning, I call it the mama effect. And I live in the southeastern United States, so we call our moms mama. And if you think about what the conversation around plastics has primarily been an environmental one, maybe for the past 10, 20, 30 years as we've moved forward. And in the United States, I apologize to some of our European and Asian friends, we haven't really cared that much, right? If we find out that there's going to be a 2 or 3 degree Celsius change in 2050, Okay, we'll deal with that when we get there. I've got to worry about taking care of my kids and putting dinner on the table and all the other things that go along in my daily life, and maybe I don't worry too much about that. The mama effect, microplastics are impacting your kids, my kids. I have grandbabies now, right? Soon it's going to be 5. I just found out that one of my daughters is pregnant, so this is an exciting thing. So I'm going to have 5 grandkids. And the amazing thing about that is how much you love those grandkids, and you didn't think you could love anything more maybe than you did your kids. So when mamas find out that something is impacting the health of their kids and their grandkids, that's when the world changes, right? I'm sorry, guys, we think we might run the world, but it's definitely not true, right? I mean, the mamas make the buying decisions in our households. Most procurement in big major corporations is now led by women, so mamas make those decisions. And what's happening, and we're starting to see it, and you saw Kimberly Clark and Brian Haynes sitting up here saying that he's getting pressure from customers about what are we doing about non-plastic items? How can we replace these plastics with something else? So the mama effect. And what is, so solution? Well, we're a biotech company. We manufacture biopolymers. A solution, I call it the solution, but a solution is biopolymers, and we're going to talk about polyhydroxyalkanoates, PHAs, all the benefits and convenience of plastic without the harm to people or to the planet. So PHAs are a natural biopolymer. They are circulating in your body right now. Your liver might be making them. The microbes in your gut are making PHAs. They're all throughout your body. Nature knows how to handle them and how to take care of them. Unlike polypropylene or polyethylene, polystyrenes that are ubiquitous through our environment now, and they sit out there forever and ever. So we've branded that Solon. We manufacture this Solon biopolymer, and there's a few things that we make. We make straws and films, fibers, yarns, paper coatings, bottles, closures, cutlery. All of these types of products that we make out of plastic we'll manufacture from PHA. Solon. This picture here was a study that we did with the University of Georgia a couple years ago. There's a straw, and you can watch it through that 10-week progression in those pictures go to where it's been completely biodegraded. So this is a biodegradation study in a composting situation where we were to really analyze what was going on with that, and you can see that it disappears. There are some certifications from TUV that you might recognize, but the point I'll make on this slide is that biopolymers, can you think of some others, maybe starch, maybe cellulose, they don't generate persistent microplastics. I had a conversation with someone about what does that mean, and I felt like I was maybe being a little bit of a politician, but it comes down to how do you define the word persistent, right? So if we have persistent microplastics, it means they last a certain period of time. Do they last a second? Do they last a minute? Do they last 500 years in the environment? So we need to understand that. PHA, we're saying right now, is not persistent microplastics. Take a break and do a little advertisement. Turtle Sip, you guys may have walked by. They're not selling juice or selling water. Stop and get a free bottle of water. Turtle Sip is a Singapore company, and they're just now launching a whole line of biodegradable straws, different sizes and things. They're using our resin to make those straws, which is why they're getting a plug here, but they're truly zero plastic. And the interesting thing that we're standing here, and I'm talking about this, RWDC, also a Singapore company, 2018, we were across the street at the Marina Bay Sands for the inaugural Livability Challenge, sponsored by Temasek. And we won that. And part of what we were to do was develop straws. So it took a few years. We developed some straws. But here we are a few years later, right back and helping Turtle Sip launch straws all throughout Southeast Asia. So when you walk out that door, go down the stairs, stop, get a straw, get a juice, prove that the straw works. I'm not a marketing guy, and Jeff will attest to this, because anybody use paper straws? Anybody love paper straws? Right? So because they don't really work, right? So I came up with a great idea that I thought we could use, right? I don't know if you'll want to use this for Turtle Sip, guys, but RWDC, our straws suck. No laughs, nothing, really? Well, that's the same thing that our marketing team said. No, that's not going to work. But they don't get soggy like paper. You won't be able to tell. Go down there and grab a straw, and I'll challenge you to tell me it's not just your standard run-of-the-mill plastic straw. Performs just like that. But go get one. Thank the Temasek guys if they're here, or the Temasek Foundation, because that early investment, EDB as well, that poured into an early startup with just a few people. So now we've got about 126 folks, a little bit of a global presence, and building 2 large-scale commercial facilities towards the end of this year. So back to this number, 400 million tons. Brian was talking about it, on how many facilities it would take just to meet the diaper volume for Kimberly-Clark, right? That's not the global diaper volume. It's a $200 billion a year industry. It's just the volume for one company. So 400 million tons is a lot of plastic. How are we going to get to that? Well, now it comes to scale, right? So like I said, we started with a beaker on the bench. We now have 60,000 liter bioreactors that are running every day, producing products. Some of it's right out here being sold by a company called Turtle Sip. How do we get to the next level? Well, we spent a lot of years working on that. In RWDC, we've just finished a lot of our engineering design. This is a picture of what the facility is going to look like in Athens. Our current facility is behind that, and I just brag on our engineers. One of Alex, who sits right here in Singapore, did a lot of the design on this. So obviously, that's a big box, and what's inside it is all the secrets. I'll just show a quick picture of that. Don't nobody memorize what that looks like, but some of our commercial scale bioreactors. Oh, everybody's taking pictures. All right, don't steal our IP. But so commercial scale coming soon this year for us to be able to produce PHA, and beginning at that scale that can go all over the world and meet those hundreds of millions of tons. All right, so back to this one. Changing the world is hard work, and it's not something that I'm proud of the things that RWDC has been able to do. But we're not going to get there alone. And I think every group that's been up here today has really focused on this, right? Partnership. We really value partnership. As a young startup, we couldn't have gotten by without it. As a slightly more mature startup today and moving into large-scale commercial production, we recognize that it's essential. So I start here, or I end here, I guess, by saying, let's partner. If you're here in the room and you're interested in biotech, you're interested in biopolymers, you're interested in paper, and you want to coat paper, you want to make straws or spoons or forks, you want that spoonful of plastic to be made out of a biodegradable plastic, then come see me. We really look forward to partnering with everybody as we move into this next large scale. So the building an industry, not just a business. That's really what we've come to focus on, because there's other PHA producers here in the room, and we talk regularly. We understand that that rising tide raises all ships is a really true statement, and that for us to be successful, there needs to be a thriving and growing PHA business or a biopolymer business globally. And if it's just us alone out in the wilderness, crying what a great thing PHA is, it's never going to be a viable industry. We're never going to replace 400 million tons a year. So we need to hold hands and grab arms with equipment suppliers who we partner with customers who we partner with, and with other bioproducers who we need to partner with as well. This is a shot from our plant in Athens, Georgia. Athens is just about an hour and a half north and east of Atlanta. So if you're in Atlanta and you want to come see us, we'd love to welcome you there. You can see that tank in the middle, one of our 60,000 liter bioreactors there. Kind of a small team, but this is us. And I appreciate a few minutes to chat and talk with you. Looking forward to partnering, building an industry, not just a business. So would love to have a conversation with you. Come see me and find me around. And with that, thank you for the time to present today. Thank you.